Hey, there's really no good time to make a video like this, but I wanted to share a little bit about my story and how I grew up. And I wanted to explain some of the hashtags that I use, like trauma recovery, PTSD recovery, emotional healing. But anyways, I was born in upstate New York to two people who were very traumatized and young and out of sorts. And people like that tend to find each other. I think my parents met in high school. And they fell in love or whatever they fell into, and decided that they were going to get married and have a family. And that family was hell. It was just pure hell. Of trauma, like in the first few years of my life. Violence in the home because of somebody that my dad let in, because he was just too strung out on whatever he was using at the time to be able to defend his household. So my mother was assaulted. Nobody really knows what happened to me, if anything happened to me. I may have been a toddler or an infant or something, but that's just the kind of house I grew up in. And I remember my mom asking me as early as maybe 7 or 8 years old if my dad had touched me whenever I would stay with him, like if he was training at his boxing coach's house. I remember my mom just asking me if he had touched me in any way. And that's a memory that I recovered, and I asked my mom about it, and she said, like, yeah, that does seem like something I would have asked, but she didn't go into detail. But also in junior high and high school, I was molested by my dad. And those years put so much trauma in my mind and body. You have to keep in mind, my dad was 6'5" and like 250, and I was half that. And a lot of the time I would just struggle to get myself free, crying, just trying to get away and just not being strong enough. The really sad part, as if this hasn't already been said, but the sad part is he used to do that in front of my mother. And she would see me struggling to try to free myself and get away from him, and she'd just walk around and just ignore it, like there was just nothing happening. But I look back on times like that, and I realized that he did that on purpose. My mom is not the smartest person in the world, and he knew all that he could get away with. And it was very hard for me to absorb all of that abuse, and also just the emotional manipulation that comes with being in that household. the neglect, the poverty, food insecurity sometimes. And yeah, so I had a lot to deal with in junior high and high school, and I still had to try to keep it together to get an education and function as a person is supposed to function in society. But in my 20s and 30s, I couldn't really process what happened, but it's just been this year that I've been able to recognize the abuse that I went through as abuse. For years and years and years, I didn't understand that it was abuse or trauma. I just thought that was my normal. Maybe this was going on in other people's homes. But yeah, I just remember feeling so hopeless, and I had to learn to self-soothe. Because there would be sometimes where if I would manage to free myself, or maybe, I don't know, maybe my dad was just messing with me and pretending like he was letting me go. There were some times where he would just, if I would run into my room, he would try to come in the room after me. And I remember using all of my strength to try to hold the door and putting my foot down at the bottom so that he couldn't get in, and just hoping that he would stop. But I mean, there are times like that, and there are just other instances of different kind of abuse. And after a while, your mind and body will start to break down. And that's what happened with me. I struggled with depression for a very long time. I still struggle a little bit, but it's more because I'm processing so much these days. But before, I didn't really know why I struggled so much with mental health. But it's just that I had absorbed everything. Meaning that I didn't blame my father or mother. I just thought that this is just life and that's what I have to deal with. But yeah, I had a very hard upbringing, so I wanted to share that because it's just time. It's been on my mind for a few days. And I am working through my trauma. Talking with a psychologist as usual. But also just going through my own weird personal healing journey that doesn't quite make sense. But if you haven't made it this far, thanks for listening, and I will see you next video.